Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, today we are going to talk about everybody's favorite Lord and Savior, Sunday. So, Sunday is a very interesting character. I think there's a lot to discuss about him, but I do have some slight issues with him that I'm going to talk about. But this is just going to be my just genuine, unbiased thoughts on Sunday and how big his pull value actually is. So, what does Sunday do? Sunday is an imaginary character who follows the path of harmony, and he is a summon slash hypercarry support. His basic attack is nothing to write home about. His skill enables one character and their summon to immediately take action, which buffs the character by 30% and the summon by 50%, lasting for 2 turns. His ultimate regenerates 20% of max energy to one character and gives them a state called the Beatified, which that also increases their crit damage. And this lasts for a total of 3 of Sunday's turns. When he uses his skill on a Beatified target, it recovers a skill point, so he essentially uses no skill points during this state. His talent gives him 20 crit rate for free. Not crit damage, crit rate. His technique gives him 50% damage for 2 turns, and as for his major traces, he regenerates 25 energy at the start of the battle, dispels a buff, aka cleanse, similar to Bronya, when he uses his skill, and for his final trace, when using his ultimate, if the energy he regenerates is less than 40, it will immediately make it 40 flat energy. So, being extremely in character, that was a lot of yapping. But to summarize, he is essentially if you take Bronya and Jing Yuan, give them a summon baby, and that's what you get. He is very good. Bronya since day one has been a very, very strong character. A lot of it comes down to her having the 100% action advance. Now, action advance has been probably one of the strongest mechanics in the game, as it gives you more turns, therefore more damage. There have been only 2 characters that have had it so far, at least 100%. And that characters are Bronya and Robin. Sparkle can do it, but she only has 50% and is not guaranteed to move them up completely in the action bar compared to Bronya and Robin. So him having this on his skill and also having pretty good SP management is an amazing thing to have. So he is pretty much just an upgrade to Bronya. And another thing we need to consider is that we have the summon meta coming, and that is now confirmed. On the live stream, it is confirmed that Remembrance is the summon meta. So he is going to be probably the backbone of that for a while. Now, there was a little bit of a conspiracy theory going around that we would be getting a summon Robin, which would essentially be a character that could advance every summon forward, which, even if they did do that, you would still probably play Sunday most of the time. Because think about it like this. The typical hypercarry team, for the most part now, is going to be Sunday Robin. So if you're running a summon team, you can also still run that, and it's going to work great. So you would be replacing Robin, and then you'd have Sunday and the summon Robin. So you are not really losing anything if you pull for Sunday for this summon meta. Which honestly I think it's fair, but I think some of it would be people trying to justify not pulling Sunday. Because I do understand the paranoia now, because there are characters like Sparkle that people pulled because, you know, it's a limited harmony, it's going to be insane. And now, like, nowadays, she is not the craziest anymore. She's still good, but she's not insano anymore, you know what I mean? So people might think the same thing about Sunday, is, you know, maybe we'll get a character that can do his job, but better. Which I understand that, but I do think whether he gets power corrupt or not, he's still going to be absolutely ridiculous as a summon support, considering that's what he is made to do. And right now, especially, we don't really have a ton of summon units, so he might look a lot worse right now. We have Topaz and Numbi, Lingshot, and Jing Yuan. Now, Topaz is pretty much only for follow-up attacks. She can work as like hyper carry Topaz, which I am very excited to see. Characters like Lingxia, who she's a breaker and a follow-up attacker, so she's probably not going to be that crazy, and she can also advance her own summon, so I don't think it's going to be insane for Sunday. There might be some funny stuff that comes up, but other than that, I don't really see it happening. So the only character right now that is really benefiting from Sunday is Jing Yuan. And Jing Yuan is not a very good character. He's had the problem for so long that his Lightning Lord is just way too slow. You can't control where it goes. You can't really do anything with it. But now you can actually advance it. So you're going to be doing a lot more damage. But even then, his damage is not insane. It's quite solid, but it's not the most crazy thing you've ever seen. So if you are a Jing Yuan main, you need to pull Sunday. I don't like calling characters must pulls, but if you are a Jing Yuan main, you must pull Sunday. He takes Jing Yuan from being mid Yuan to pretty solid Yuan. But the thing is, he is not going to be the only summon unit. We get Aglaea in 3.0, and she's also lightning, so she's actively going to be competing with Jing Yuan. And I think it's pretty obvious to say that she's going to be better. She's a 3.0 unit, Jing Yuan's a 1.0 unit. It is what it is. but he is still absolutely an upgrade for Jing Yuan. So that's great. And he's also very good for hypercarries. We established earlier that he's better Bronya, and he's honestly looking better than Sparkle. While Sparkle is still a very good unit, she's especially good in 160 aka hyperspeed scenarios, Sunday is just much more flexible than her. He works in a lot more places than she does. He is SP neutral without his light cone, and he's SP positive with it. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was his light cone, because this is one of the things that I've been seeing many people talk about, and I think it's important to address if you're going to go for Sunday. So Sunday's light cone, A Grounded Ascent, is one of the most insane light cones I think I've ever seen, especially on a support. So here's what the light cone does. After the wearer uses skill or an ultimate on one ally character, the wearer generates 6 energy, and the ability's target receives 1 stack of him for 3 turns, stacking up to 3 times. Each stack of him increases the holder's damage percent by 15%. After 2 instances of skill or ultimate, the wearer uses on one ally character recovers 1 skill point. I don't think I have to tell you why this is broken. This is like But the Battle Isn't Over, but on crack. And also what this does is it lets Sunday comfortably 3-turn ult. Now, you can 3-turn ult with the Bronya Light Cone, but you have to get hit for it. And honestly, relying on RNG for that is kind of cringe. I know there's a lot of AoE, but still, I would rather just have that full comfort and ability to just get my ult, not having to think about it, not having to worry about RNG for that. You can 3-turn ult if you have S3 or above of Bronya's Light Cone and not have to get hit for it. But, you know, that's just bad. I don't know if that's good or bad RNG, to be honest. And even if you do get there, that only lasts for 1 turn. So if you're running things like follow-up attack teams, if you're running a character like Jing Liu going into her special state, you can't use that buff. So Sunday's Light Cone is incredible. If you are trying to go for him, 100% pick up the Light Cone if you're able to. He is still fine without it. I want to make that very clear. He is still a good character without his Light Cone, but his Light Cone helps him a lot. And I want people to be aware of that. I think that's important. So he has a very good signature Light Cone. So what about his Eidolons? Well,
hear me good, nigga. I'm here to double down. That shit is a 2-pack of ass. The fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
So his Eidolons are a little bit rough. His E1 gives him defense ignore on the target that he skills with by 16%. And if they have a summon, then they ignore 40%, both lasting for 2 turns. So this is a pretty decent Eidolon. My only question is, why is it only 16%? I don't know why they didn't make it 20 or like 25, something like that. Like, for example, Rondame's E1 is 20% and it's for the entire team. Now, I know there's a part about the summons, which that was a thing I was thinking about, is will people look at Sunday's Eidolons more favorably once the summon meta comes out? And I think they will. I know it's more for the summon, but still, people are still going to play him as a hypercarry support because he's still very good there. So I don't really know why it's that low. I think this seems more like a bait Eidolon into the summon meta. I think that's mostly what it is. E2, after the first use of the ultimate, recovers 2 skill points. The damage dealt by the Beatify increased by 30%. This is, oh dear, that's not a very good Eidolon, to be honest. For an E2, we usually have the most broken E2s. This is kind of not that crazy. E3's trace levels. E4, when the turn starts, regenerates 8 energy. Which this one is actually pretty solid. I mean, it's nothing crazy. But for an E4, again, like, it could have been better, you know? The E6 is actually quite interesting. The Talon's crit rate boost effect becomes stackable up to 3 times, and Talon's duration increases by 1 turn. When Sunday uses ultimate, it can also apply the Talon's crit rate boost effect to the target. When the Talon's crit rate boost takes effect, and the target's crit rate exceeds 100%, every 1% of the excess crit rate becomes 2% crit damage. This is very good on characters that can get 100 crit rate pretty easily. So characters like Fei Xiao and like Jing Liu, characters like those who can easily hit 100 crit rate are especially going to benefit from this, but any character can really. This is quite good, but the problem is it's locked behind an E6. It's a very solid E6, but the Eidolons on the way to get there are really not that crazy. I feel kind of bad if you're going to go for his E6 because his Eidolons on the way there aren't that crazy. I've seen people kind of try to like reverse Doom post it by like justifying that they're not very good, by saying, oh, well, you know, Ron May's E2 isn't that good. Whoever support Eidolon isn't that good. Which I think that's not a very good way of looking at it because, again, you would expect more if you're spending this much money on a support Eidolon. I think for this, it's mostly going to be for the summon meta, but I'm thinking more from him as a hypercarry at this moment because that's mostly what we have. When we get more summon characters in the Remembrance Path, yeah, I would look at his Eidolons a little bit differently. But for now, I think that's the perspective people are going to look at it by, unless you're Jing Yuan main. So that's what I wanted to talk about, his Eidolons. But overall, what are my thoughts on Sunday? Sunday is an absolutely incredible unit. If you are a fan of Jing Yuan, pull Sunday. If you are a hypercarry fan, I would heavily recommend Sunday. If you're a Boot Hill fan, I would recommend pulling Sunday. If you want to get ready for the summon meta, pull Sunday. This dude is ridiculous. But as I mentioned before, he does have the problems, such as his light cone being absolutely ridiculous and his Eidolons being relatively weak. So as for the question, E1 or S1, I'm going to tell you S1, always. It makes him so much more comfortable to play, and it gives you some skill points. It makes him SP positive. So that is really what you want. As for his E1, you can get it on the rerun when we actually have more summon characters. I am very certain that this is going to be the character that takes us into the summon meta. This is going to be sort of like the Ron May for break and Robin for follow-up. I'm almost 100% certain that this is going to be the character. Because he is insane, and especially if you have a summon, he's ridiculous. We just don't have a lot of summon characters right now. So I think his value is only going to go up. So I think personally, I'm going to go for his E1 S1. I would like to hopefully unbench Jing Liu with this, and that would be great. So let me know if you're pulling for him. If you are, I wish you the best of luck. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this with friends, and we'll see you next video. Peace.